Guys, today I got a phone call. The cylinder head's checked out okay, nothing wrong with them. So this thing's loose. We're going to try to get this flywheel off of here, and then we're going to start this assembly. Get these lifters out, get this valley cleaned up, flip her upside down. Was I recording this? Yeah, I am. Shit. Sorry guys, we're bad at this. Alright, so yeah, and then we're going to tear into this, see what we got. We got knock sensors bust out. Oil filter still on it. The old car quest says. I mean, how old is this thing, right? Like, how old is that filter? But yet it's a fresh rebuild. So, anyways, we'll get into her. We got a time lapse cooking for you, and if we see anything cool or interesting, we'll come back and show you. You ready to learn something, bud?
Probably.
Guys, I just came across something in case you're pretty newbie to maintenance or tools or whatever. So I'm in a tight spot here, self-inflicted. We put this on here with the flywheel on because it was tight and it was convenient. So now I can't get in there. I don't want to take the bolt off, the block off the stand. So if you're ever in a spot where you can only get in there with a small wrench, but you don't have enough leverage because it's really tight, I'm putting this wrench on this bolt here, right here. But what I'm doing on the other end is I'm taking a box end. It can be a straight one, round one. I just grabbed one out of here. You put it in the jaws here, you get extra leverage, and they break free. Now this turns because it's not tight anymore. So an impact would work best for this. But just a couple slaps with my hand, and there she goes. Still a little tight. We'll use the leverage again. Couple slaps. Boom. Loose. Tricks of the trade. We got the flywheel off without issue earlier. And lifters are pulled. And the valley cover that holds the lifters in. None of that stuff's going back in because we're going to have a taller lifter for the cam setup we're going to use. But Alex is working on getting the rest of the timing bolts out, and then we'll take that off. When you got them bolts out, I'll pry this off.
All right.
And then you take this heat shield off. It's probably the same size.
Okay.
I don't even know if we need to keep that. Just throw it on the shelf, but it probably won't go back on. This is to protect, I think, in the 91C type cars. I think they mount some spark plug wire keepers to that, but it also protects some of the rubber pieces on the motor mount and stuff.
Rusted out, I'll tell you that.
Oh, I believe it. I don't know if this was a Wisconsin vehicle or not, but
My guess is probably.
all right. I'll come back if we see anything else cool. I'll give you a look at this weird timing cover if you're not familiar with the LT1. And there's the camshaft, and here's the water pump drive and balancer hub. So the crank is still the same. They just have this weird hub that they add on to turn the OptiSpark. So it's very much small block Chevy with weirdness. You might remember I said that LT1s are a little different than a small block Chevy, but they got the reverse cooling and the timing cover water pump weirdness. Well, they also have the OptiSpark, but they still run the old style small block Chevy oil pump. So what they do, a lot like when they came out with distributorless ignition. Well, words are hard today. They put these dummy shafts on like the V6, 3.1s, 2.8s, 3.4s to turn the water pump, because those V6s are also based on a Chevy engine design. So instead of the distributor turning the water pump, or oil pump, they got this little jack shaft that basically mimics the bottom of a distributor. It's just, they have this little boss here to keep her tight. And then that's what drives your oil pump shaft, which you can see the floor because there's no oil pump. Anyhow, on the other end of the story here, one of the other differences is, what's that weirdness? This right here turns this right here, which turns your water pump. There's a collet that goes over this and goes into your water pump. And goes around here and over to there. So, fun. I'm beginning to question how much of a rebuild this actually was. Obviously, this was a fresh Velcro gasket, right? This has been apart, but that's still a GM pulley there. Either they bought a GM chain. I mean, it's not the stock sprocket down here, but I'm thinking they reused the old one, so I'm glad we opened this up. I think we're gonna go electric water pump, so we won't need this anyhow. So, but that's what an LT1 timing chain looks like. Extra parts. There's a gear behind here that turns this for the water pump, and that's gear to gear, so no chain. Why they time this better than they time this, you know, whatever. Maybe we'll end up using a belt drive because they make that. Maybe we'll do gears. We're not there yet. We're seeing what we got. What's that?
Am I going the right way?
Are you? No.
No.
Lefty loosey, right?
Yeah.
No left-hand threads on this baby. There you go. So, just peeled this off. I got it off with my hands, guys, so whoever put it on didn't like torque it to 100 foot-pounds like you see these quick lubes do. Anyhow, that's unnecessary. Anyhow, looking at this, look at the oil. I mean, more and more I see here, the more I say I'm happy we're taking it apart, because it was not an expert rebuild, but definitely hasn't ran. See, there's the assembly lube on all the bearings. Stock rods though. Hyper-Eutectic, flat top, 4-valve relief. If you guys are interested, there's a crank number 140885526. The caps should all match. Got 63, 63.
It says 805 on the bottom, 803.
Yep. And then, I mean, I don't even think this thing ever had even an oil pump put on it, like, since it was apart. And yeah, the decks are rusty, but everything else is very usable. I don't know what we're going to do for rotating assembly, if we're leaving it or not, but that's what we got going on here. I think it's getting pretty late, and little man's got to work in the morning.
What time is it even?
I think 9:30 or 10 when I was upstairs. Anyhow, I think we're gonna pull at least 1 or 2 holes out, see if they're numbered and stuff. Otherwise, we'll take a number set and stamp numbers on them, so everything goes. We know where it goes, and then we'll see how out around cylinders are. I mean, look at the cross hatch there, guys. I think we're gonna be okay. I don't think we need to machine the block. I mean, if we do, we're probably going to do splayed caps and 4-bolt, but we're probably going to be in the 4 to 500 horse range. 2-bolt is acceptable, as long as she's balanced. You know, it's just trying to get the correct wrench for getting that out, and then that'll come off. It's being hard. It's still hard to turn. I mean, I don't have that big flywheel to turn on now, and so I'm still wondering if there's an issue in here. I got these 2 caps loose. How do you guys do it? I take wood or plastic. I prefer plastic, but wood does work, but got the chance of splinters. But I leave the nuts on, but cover the threads with them, and I just tap-a-rooney, little that, little that. You can see they're moving. So, see? And we'll take it the rest of the way off, and we'll get these out. And then I put a little piece of rubber hose over the threads when I send the piston down by pushing like this. And then here. And the reason I put hose on the threads is so when you get down in the cylinder, these hardened bolts can actually make marks in the cylinder walls because they're harder than the cast. So if they knock hard into the wall, I've seen threads from rods bolts I've seen marks of the threads and cylinders before, and that would mean a sleeve or a bore or whatever. And we're hoping this thing's square and we don't have to do nothing, but I mean, that cam, it wasn't replaced when it was rebuilt, so it's probably a stock cam. We will measure it, see what we got, go from there. I'll let you know if I find anything weird, but otherwise we're just gonna have a what do they call it? Time lapse. We're gonna have a time lapse of all this. So, all right, I got this cap off. Bearing's still on the crank here, right? What is going on here? Why is there assembly lube on the cap side of the bearing? Now I'm really glad we're in here. I've never seen assembly lube like this either. I'm not saying it's not the right stuff, because I don't know. There's all kinds of different stuff out there. But don't lube between your cap and your bearing. The oil comes from the crankshaft. This is how spun bearings happen. Look, even the slot, focus, come on. Hang on guys, I'll clean the camera lens. That's probably better, right? Anyhow, if we'll focus here, come on. There we go. See how the assembly lube's all in the little groove where the bearing goes? This is how spun bearings happen, guys. So, this was definitely a rookie build. I'm not saying you shouldn't try to do it. I'm not even saying that this would have blown up. I'm just saying that it wasn't right. I can't even get this bearing out of here. Come on. Okay, so the crank so far, look, we got her right away. There's a nick right there, and I definitely can feel it with my finger. If I can feel it with my skin, I'm definitely gonna feel it with my nail. Oh yeah. Yeah, this crank has to at minimum be polished. I'll run the numbers. If it's cast, which I more than likely is, it's junk. We need a new crank, because I'm gonna put some horsepower on it. Could this be fixed? Absolutely. I'd rather just put a forged steel crank in it than this cast iron one, which I assume that's what it is. But alright guys, we're just gonna pop this out, maybe measure it. Other than that, we're gonna go bed, or at least take a break for the night and get back at this tomorrow. So catch you later. Well, we got 2 holes out. There's a nick in the crank. I think it was a number 1 main cap, or not main cap, or rod cap. You want to spin it for me, bud? See that nick right there? I can feel it pretty good with my finger without my nail. My nail definitely catches it. There you see it better. I think they hit it with the connecting rod bolt. So, I don't know. Do we polish it? Do we get a forged steel crank? We'll think about it in our dreams. We're going to take a break for the night. LT junk out. Alright, we pulled 2 pistons out before bed anyhow. We'll measure them in the morning. Just wanted to show you guys this. I'm thinking that nick in the crank, the more I look at it, it's right in the center. I'm thinking they hit the crank with the bolts of the rod when they were putting them together or taking it apart. So, I don't know what we're going to do there, but research, you know, everything costs money. We're trying to save as much as we can when we can, but we're also trying to make this have a little extra power and be super reliable. So, we'll see. You can see I gotta clean the deck up pretty bad, so. Alright. Till tomorrow.